Well, some 2 million people employed in France's service industry will now have to carry a health pass to work. Now, the rule affects staff in venues that already require the public to show a health pass, such as restaurants, cafes and cinemas. Well, staff members will need to either show proof of vaccination, a negative test, or that they're recovering from COVID-19. Those who don't risk suspension. Businesses can be fined if they fail to comply. Well, for more on these latest developments and their possible impact on the travel industry, I'm joined by Kimberly Vince Cruz. Kimberly is Vice President of Destination Analysts. Thank you for joining us again.
Thank you so much, Rachelle. I am thrilled to be back here with you.
So I first want to start with your reaction to the latest EU COVID travel restrictions and how long you think they're expected to last.
You know, that is tough to answer. When COVID hit last year, it was a real gut punch to the travel industry, and the industry has continued to take a beating over the last year and a half. It's clear that no other industry has been hurt as much as the travel and tourism sector. And if there's one thing we've learned that it is completely unpredictable. Things are constantly evolving and constantly changing, so it's hard to know.
And certainly it is almost like a game of Jenga trying to figure out, if you're a traveler, what you can do and where you can go. So how unified is the bloc in terms of admission requirements for vaccinated visitors versus those with just, say, a negative COVID test?
Yeah, that's a really good question. As far as what we're seeing in our tracking study, we're seeing that traveler sentiment has ebbed and flowed. And that sentiment is impacting behavior. That sentiment is impacting how travelers think and feel. You mentioned a moment ago impact of vaccine requirements and proof of vaccination. And something that we're seeing in our data is that American travelers are largely in support of indoor vaccine mandates and indoor masking requirements.
So overall, how has the global tourism and hospitality sectors, how have they managed with this roller coaster of variants and changing restrictions?
Yeah. Well, Rachelle, it's definitely been a roller coaster, and we've seen so much change over the past year and a half. We've seen a decline in travel volume. Business revenues have gone down, and there were higher rates of unemployment, especially during the summer of last year. Essentially, COVID has led to a serious recession to parts of the travel industry, and as the situation constantly evolves, the travel experience will continue to be impacted.
So in terms of the travel experience, then talk about some of the steps that airlines and hotels, etc., are really taking to get back on track and really lure visitors in.
Yes, there are a couple of things that tourism-related companies are doing to stay in business. They are offering flexible cancellation policies. They are doubling down on health and safety standards, and they're continuing to push messaging around safety. And they're also turning to discounts and flash deals. And so these are all things that airlines, hotels, and other tourism-related businesses are doing to stay afloat right now.
And are there certain destinations or types of vacations that are seeing a bigger rebound than others?
Yes, absolutely. I shared with you that sentiment has impacted behavior, and consumers are seeking places that are perceived as safe. And as a result, travel demand shifted away from cities and air travel to more outdoor destinations and road trips.
And what about vaccine mandates for staff? Is that the best way to ease concerns for workers and visitors versus, say, other safety measures?
That's a great question. Again, I shared with you in our traveler sentiment study that it is something that travelers are largely in support of. So travelers are in support of indoor masking requirements. They're also largely in support of indoor vaccine mandates within their home community. So essentially, it is a good idea to have those types of requirements.
Now, I still remember the images of some of these cruise lines that were stranded at the very beginning of the pandemic when there were massive outbreaks on there. So what about cruise companies? We know that there were some test cruises that were launched to see how potential outbreaks could be better managed than at the start of the pandemic. How far are they from the demand and profitability that they saw pre-pandemic?
Yeah, that's something that we've seen in our research and our data as well. There has definitely been a substitution in the types of destinations that travelers are tuning to instead of cruises. So rather than cruises, we're seeing that travelers instead have selected beach destinations, outdoor destinations, even small towns and rural destinations. As far as when cruise travel will rebound again, that's unforeseeable right now. It's so hard to tell.
So with so much uncertainty then, what should governments be doing at this point in the pandemic to really help people who continue to work in these various tourism and hospitality industries?
Yes, I think that governments can really continue to support and enforce, again, what I've shared, indoor masking requirements, as well as indoor vaccine mandates, to ensure that not just local residents, but also visitors and those who are frontline workers working within the travel industry, ensure that everyone feels safe and comfortable.
Well, lots of good data there. Thank you so much. Kimberly Vince Cruz there, Vice President of Destination Analysts.
Thank you so much.